So Donald Trump said something at a rally recently that should absolutely terrify any reasonable person. He said this, and I quote, "We pledge to you that we will root out the communist, Marxist, fascist, and radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our society." He is pretty much quoting Adolf Hitler and Mussolini. He's using the same type of language that Nazis used against the Jewish people. And there's an audience of people standing there cheering that on, hoping that he roots out those type of people. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say, well, he ain't talking about you, Brando. He don't mean you. He's talking about all these radical leftists that's just going after him and trying to bring him down. That's who he's talking about. And I would say this, when has Donald Trump ever referred to anyone on the left as reasonable? When has he said that he would be willing to reach across the aisle and work with any of us? When has he said, well, now I may not agree with them on everything, but I want us to work together for the good of the country? When has he ever said, I would like to see Joe Biden do good and I hope he succeeds? Anytime he ever speaks about anyone on the left or anyone who disagrees with him, it's not just a left-right thing. This goes for the Republicans who he labels as rhinos. If you disagree with him, you're automatically radical. You're automatically a thug. You're automatically a communist. You're automatically a Marxist. And his followers, his people have picked this up. And they've adopted this type of rhetoric. You don't believe me? Just go check out my comment sections. They're there, saying this stuff on a daily basis. So for the people that are still trying to defend this type of rhetoric and say, oh, they don't mean you. Yes, they mean us. And they can call us Marxist and communist and socialist all day, but they will borrow from those ideas when it fits them, because Donald Trump said this about the president of China. He said he rules China with an iron hand. And they have no drug problem. You know why? Because they have the death penalty for drug dealers. Now, he's talking about China that is a one-party system. It is a Marxist, Leninist, one-party socialist system. That's what you all claim to be against. Yet that's what he borrows from when it benefits him. And for those of you that aren't reading Project 2025, that is exactly what it intends to give the president the power to do. It says that he has control over all the branches of government, and if he disagrees with them on anything, they can be fired on the spot. That's what they intend to do, whether it be Donald Trump or another Republican take office. That's what they plan to do in 2025. And it's going over people's head, and people aren't taking it seriously. People are missing out on something that's happening right in front of our faces. And he's up here referring to us as vermin, and he wants to root us out. Exactly how so? What does he mean by that? What does he mean, root us out? Can you imagine if Joe Biden, Barack Obama, or any liberal politician ever stood up on a stage and said, we are going to root out the radical Christians in this country that lives like vermin? If that got said, Fox News would explode. Every pulpit in this country would be lit on fire from the fire-breathing preachers and the sermons they would be delivering on that Sunday. If something like that ever got said, and we would hear words like communist and socialist, and we would hear the comparisons to Hitler being thrown all over the place. But when their guy does it, they give him a pass for that. They're perfectly okay with it. And they'll say, oh, man, you guys are just trying to make Trump out to be the boogeyman. He's just trying to go after the people that are coming after him. Well, they're coming after him with facts and with evidence. And we have him on audio and on video admitting to a good chunk of all of it. So it's not just about they're trying to lock up a political opponent. He's saying that he's going to do it with no evidence at all. If he just thinks someone's looking at him the wrong way, he's going to do it. But there's still people who will defend it. And there's still people say, well, he didn't mean nothing by that, man. He really didn't. And there's people that will say, hey, you know, some people likes Trump, some people likes Biden, man. You can't throw away friendships just because somebody likes Donald Trump. Well, you don't necessarily have to throw away a friendship, but you need to remind them on a daily basis what it is that they're standing for and what it is that they're believing in. Because maybe they're not listening. Maybe they're just all caught up with their WWE-style signs screaming in the air, and they're not realizing, hey, maybe they're not realizing what's going on. I don't know. But I saw an interview one time with Susan Atkins. She's one of the Manson family members that helped Charles Manson carry out the Sharon Tate murders. Susan Atkins said they did, like, it was ridiculous. I don't know the exact number. It was like 17 trips of acid a day they took with Charles Manson for years. So she said that when she got locked up into prison, that years later, she said it took her years for her mind to start getting clear again to realize what a heinous thing she done. Because she didn't even really realize when she was giving those testimonies back then, she didn't know the world she was in. She was still bombed out of her mind. She was completely captivated by this cult leader. Now, I can't remember his real name, but the guy that played the grandpa on the Munsters, he said that the Manson family babysat his children. And when he heard about them being arrested for these murders, he said, that's impossible. Those girls are the sweetest girls in the world. They wouldn't hurt a fly. They wouldn't hurt nobody. Well, maybe not. But they did when they dropped acid with their cult leader. And these rallies that you see with Roseanne Barr giving him a big introduction and all this bullshit, and people screaming to root us out like vermin, that is them dropping acid with their cult leader. And you may wake up years from now and go, well, we didn't mean for this, man. We really didn't mean for this to happen. But when you constantly refer to us as the radical left, when you constantly refer to us as vermin, and every time we disagree with you, we're a communist, we're a fascist, we're a Marxist, we're a thug, it's kind of hard to believe that you would take up for us in that scenario that he tried to root us out. I don't know if what I'm doing here would even be allowed under another Trump administration. And I don't know if one of you that disagrees with me would ever come to my aid and say, wait a minute, he has a First Amendment right to speak his mind. I really believe that if we were being rooted out, I don't know that any of you would honestly stand up and say, enough's enough, this has gone too far. And for those of you on the left, do you think they'd stand up for you? Do you honestly think his supporters would come to your aid if you were suddenly being rooted out? And they love to talk about how, oh man, a dictator will disarm you. Yeah. I really believe that Donald Trump could disarm the population like that. No problem. I really believe that every redneck in this part of the world would line up if he said, just give them to me and I'll protect you from the deep state. I'll protect you from the radical leftists if you'll just give them to me. I believe every redneck around here would line up his pickup truck and give up his whole collection. Why do I think that? Why do I think those things? For those of you that are going, what? Why do I think those things? Because you never call it out. You never disagree with it. You just keep going along with it. You just keep dropping acid with your cult leader. Well, one day, when Susan Atkins finally came down off that really strange trip she was on, she realized that she brutally unalived a pregnant woman. She realized that years later. You gonna be like Susan Atkins? Is it gonna take you years before you realize that you took a little too much acid with the cult leader?